Okay, this is the safety demo for the printmaking lesson. All right, so these are our carving tools, and what we're going to do is we're going to carve our block. So I'm going to explain a little bit about these. These are called lino tools, or lino, excuse me, lino cutters. There's different blades. So there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I drew a little picture of what each of the blades looks like. So the 5 looks like a little scoop. The 4 looks like this kind of more square edge. The 3, 2, and 1 are all V's, and they're different shapes or different sizes. You most likely will not use the 4 and 5. Those are really large tools, and since our blocks are pretty small, you won't be using those. So I'm going to suggest that you not get those two, and you can get the 1, 2, and 3. You can tell by the shape of the blade. You also can look on the very back of the blade. There's a number. So this says 3. I know that's hard to see, but if you look carefully, you can see. So my favorite tool is the 2, and I'm going to start with that one. So what you need to get. Okay, so before we actually start on your block here, you're going to want to start on a scrap piece. So what I'd like you to do is try the different tools and kind of experiment. So this is how you hold the tools. You hold them like how you would hold a pencil, and you would carve away from yourself. You could also hold it with more of like a grip like this, and then have your pointer finger on this metal part. It's called the chuck. So you could also hold it like that. With your pointer finger on the chuck, it allows you to have a little bit more precision with the cutting, okay? It would be perfectly acceptable to hold it like a pencil as well. I'm gonna hold it like that so you can actually see what I'm doing. All right, so when we actually are carving, we literally are carving away the top surface of this Easy Cut. I'm not trying to carve super deep. I'm not trying to put a hole in this. I'm just kind of skimming across the surface. Think about a boat, how it like skims across the surface. So I'm gonna be carving out an area or some lines, okay? And you'll notice that I'm right-handed, so I'm holding the tool with my right hand. I would never have my left hand like this, because if I was to carve and this blade was to jump, and it could stab me right in the finger, and I don't want that to happen. So you always have your other hand holding your block down, but you never want to carve towards your hand, okay? So you can practice the different tools. I'm going to show you the number 1 tool. This one's a little trickier to use. This one you do not carve super deep. You're like really skimming across the top of the surface. You'll notice I'm carving a circle right now, and just like when we use the compass, we hold our right hand steady and we move the block so that you have a better shot at doing a good design. And you can kind of hold your hand steady. Okay, so the 1, you can see it's like a little finer. You don't want to carve too deep because it'll get caught, and then it'll do that, and it'll kind of rip, and we don't want to see that. So this is the 3. See, it carves a little bit wider. All right, so when you're carving, you want to use good craftsmanship, as you can imagine. You want to take your time. You don't want to rush, okay? So I want to see these little practice pieces before you start, because I want to make sure that you're totally comfortable with the tools and you're not being dangerous with them, okay? All right, so once you have the A-OK, you can get your block out, and you can see I've started carving this one, so I'm going to continue on this one. The very first step that you're going to do is you're going to carve all of your lines. So I'm going to work on carving all of these lines. My hands out of the way. When you get close to the edge, you can carve down. Okay, now I've got all my lines carved. Now I'm ready to make some decisions about carving out some of the spaces. So I'm going to show you a print. You always want to keep your space clean as you go, so you can throw all those little rubber scraps away. Okay, so here's this print. It's done. It's like finished carving. You can see this is a stamp of it. So any places where I carved out completely, like on the lines or full areas, the white of the paper showed through. So whatever color paper you're printing on, that's what would show through. So you want to select a certain number. You want to have a good balance of areas that are completely carved away and areas that are left. So what I'm suggesting that you do, and you can see I kind of started this, you're going to mark with an X of the areas that you want to completely carve away. And then take your 2 or 3 carving tool and you're going to outline. If you didn't already, like I forgot this line, but it should have already been outlined. And then you're going to kind of follow along the shape. And we do this to keep it nice and neat, because sometimes these lines show when we print, and that's okay, that's a good thing, but we want them to be neat. Okay, so I carved that whole space out. So I'm going to go to the next one. So this one's already been outlined, so I'm just going to follow that same edge and just outline. So I'm done carving all my spaces and I'm ready for a test print. So you can bring this over to me and we'll do a test print, and you can see if there's any areas that you need to go back and clean up, or if there's any areas you need to carve a little bit more. Take your time, use good craftsmanship, and see me with any questions.